In the 2017 Chinese comedy Buddies in India, a crew of 3 Chinese numbskulls encounter a group of gypsies in India. Yeah, gypsies, as in the Romani people, which are not found in present-day India, not to mention some of them are clearly Chinese. Oh, this is going to be so racist. This video is sponsored by Squarespace. This is an addendum to our video on how China depicts the USA. If you are from America, I have an entire video just for you. But there is an entire world out there, and many parts of the world appear frequently in Chinese cinema too. The difference is that China learns about America through Hollywood and immigration. There's at least a foundation of understanding. That's not going to be the case here, so expect a lot of stereotypes and xenophobia. It's unfortunate, but also hilarious, and we are going to go through them in context. Let's take another trip from India to Europe to Southeast Asia and see the world according to Chinese cinema. India defines Chinese people's aesthetic comprehension. You see, this tableau of saturated colors is very common in China today, and the Chinese internet has hated this look for decades. In a world dominated by minimalism, embodied by wealthier nations, namely Japan next door, saturated color feels tacky, ostentatious. To us, loud color is hillbilly sensibility, beloved only by old folks, like Stanley Tong and Jackie Chan. Yeah, I'm sorry I have to bring this movie up, but god damn it, Kung Fu Yoga is such a classic example of this color problem. Every shot has the saturation cranked to max, every scene is a disorganized mess of color. It's so butt ugly. But then, we see India. India's use of colors defies our aesthetic assumptions. It's bright without being tacky, it's bold but not ostentatious. Most importantly, it's treated as a lived-in culture. It looks so good, and it's one of the defining traits of India in Chinese cinema. Buddies in India is the prime example. In this modern-day parody of Journey to the West, the film recreated the Spider Demon Cave story using a seductively colorful dye house as its setting, and this dude's ex as the demon.
老公?
Hilarious. It's a beautiful film and perfectly encapsulates China's admiration for a colorful India. It also shows how hard it is to pull off that aesthetic because most of the time, the movie just looks like rainbow vomit. But that is the key identity of India. Whenever a place is remotely associated with India, it is given a colorful sheen. The other defining trait of India is the exotic feminine beauty.
Wow.
Wow, what?
Yeah, there's more to the opening bit. For very complicated reasons, the word gypsy has a sexy connotation in Chinese pop culture, despite most of China know nothing of the Romani and only see them as mystical, beautiful dancers. When Buddies in India places a group of gypsies in India, it's not just because the Romani came from there some 1500 years ago. It's also attributing that exoticism to Indian women, whom we also view as beautiful, mystical dancers. If there's one thing that's more iconic than the colors of India, it's the dancing. This association may be why, on the rare occasions when an Indian woman is cast in a Chinese movie, she's almost always an eye candy, a gatekeeper to arcane knowledge. Hilariously, Malika Sherawat appears in not one, but 2 such roles. Look, positive stereotypes are still racist. Now, let's look back at the gypsies. Something's off, right? That veil and bra combo isn't Indian. That's a Hollywood invention created to represent an exoticized, Middle East. Yeah, unfortunately, Chinese people often can't tell the difference between India, Persia, and Arabia. When Slumdog Millionaire was released in Hong Kong, distributors renamed it 1,000,001 Night, borrowing an Arabian folktale to signify the Indian setting in a British movie. Man, how did China buy into classic Orientalism when we are the freaking Orient? Not to shift the blame to Hollywood, but one can see how the confusion arises when Aladdin sings Arabian Night right in front of an Indian palace. Either that or it's a Russian church. There's also the Bengal tiger, the elephant, the fire breathing. Which part of this movie is Arabian? You know what? As a representative of Chinese cinema, I apologize for the cultural misrepresentations, but at least we haven't f***ed it up this hard. Yet. One last thing, and perhaps the most unfortunate bit, so far I was unable to find a single Chinese movie with an urban Indian setting. Buddies in India was filmed in Meranga Fort, Kung Fu Yoga was filmed in Amer Fort. Unlike Hollywood's depiction of present-day China, Chinese cinema prefers India's history to its skyline. On one hand, Chinese people love history, and India has that in spades. Why wouldn't we lean into that? But this side of India is the only story we tell. It renders India into a place that's stuck in the past rather than a nation of living people. Hopefully one day we'll get a good representation and see India not for its places, but for its life. We really do live in a world where people think Indians are Arabs and Egyptians are Indians, don't we? I suppose that's why international publicity is so important. If you don't speak for yourself, somebody else will. If you also need some publicity to set yourself apart, why not make a website with Squarespace? Whether it's a business storefront or a portfolio for a brand, personality is key to memorability. You are not gonna get that from social media where everyone looks the same. With Squarespace, you can customize every aspect of your website. The process is as easy as drag and drop, and the result is infinite possibility. But what if you can trust yourself with a saturation slider? Well, you can also start with a pre-made template. Simply pick the one you like and start from there. Start your free trial at squarespace.com/accencinema. Use the code accencinema for 10% off your first purchase. Set yourself apart from the competition with a website that's full of personality, accessible anywhere on any device. Visit squarespace.com/accencinema and get your website started today. Now, let's head to Europe. Yeah, the whole thing. Look, if Chinese people can't tell these apart, then you'll stand no chance. Let's see. We have Jackie Chan in Spain, Jackie Chan in Austria, Jackie Chan in the Netherlands, Jackie Chan in Turkey, Jackie Chan in Ukraine, and Russia. Back in the 80s and 90s, Jackie Chan made a lot of movies exploring various European cities. He's, of course, famous for fighting in interesting environments, and all of these unique locations gave Jackie a lot of creative opportunities. This was how I learned geography as a child. It was how I first discovered Klompen, how I recognized Songbrunn Palace in Vienna, and also how I realized Aladdin may be Russian. But do you notice what these movies have in common? They all feature Jackie Chan as a spy, a cop, a soldier, or a treasure hunter fighting against a covert conspiracy. To Chinese cinema, Europe is almost exclusively a playground for heist films and spy thrillers. One reason is that Europe is the land of old money. It's where history meets wealth, with plenty of treasures, fine arts, and jewelry to steal. A classic example is John Woo's Once a Thief, a 1991 heist comedy in which three of Hong Kong's sexiest stars play a group of art thieves, traveling around France, stealing paintings, and living a fairy tale life. Such is the stereotype of Europe in China, a glamorous land of romance and luxury where history can be stolen, kinda like what Western Europe did to the world. But the bigger reason Europe became the center of heist action is the James Bond franchise and Hollywood spy thrillers in general. Yes, we are once again blaming Hollywood. But for real, Mission Impossible, The Bourne Identity, even Now You See Me are all massive hits in China and left a mark on our cinematic culture. During the 2010s, China wanted to make the same kind of action thrill rides. The 2017 Andy Lau Sting Bomb, The Adventurers, and the 2019 Tony Leung travesty, Europe Raiders, are both heist films revolving around a dumb MacGuffin. As imitations of American films, Expectedly, these movies show little interest in the actual cities or cultures of the settings. Unlike Jackie Chan set pieces, these heist films could have been set anywhere. It was an era of cultural insecurity, when China looked to Western Europe and saw only a vanity worth imitating. As someone who used to learn the world through movies, you can imagine how disappointed I was at this shift. Fortunately, this trend has ended. If I have to guess, COVID lockdowns probably forced China to focus more on local productions. With the film industry in a much better place, that envy towards European aesthetics has faded. Unfortunately, what replaced it is a cultural arrogance and a slew of movies set in Southeast Asia. Oh Alright, get uncomfortable because we are heading to Southeast Asia. We have Jackie Chan busting a drug law in Thailand, Wu Jin fighting a crime syndicate in Thailand, Louis Koo fighting organ traffickers in Thailand. Bro, what the Yeah, in a very unpleasant way, China's attitude towards Thailand and Southeast Asia is much the same way the US sees Latin America, like one big area of crime, drugs, and debauchery. There is an uncomfortable arrogance to this, to see a Chinese hero solving a crime problem that the local government fails to do, and sometimes saving the locals too. China's strong stance on drugs is understandable thanks to the Opium War, when Britain flooded China with opium over a trade deficit, turning the country into an addicted customer and opening a century of colonial exploitation. That national trauma sends shockwaves through the region, leaving neighboring nations with a similar hardline stance on drugs. Post-World War II, the now called Golden Triangle at the border of Myanmar, Thailand, and Laos emerged as the largest opium producer in the world. Thus, China's disdain for drugs colors how it sees the whole region today, with scams, corruption, and trafficking pushed onto these countries right along with it. Hopefully, I don't have to explain to you why, even if the drug problem is true, persistent and biased depictions still promote racism. Now, to be fair, Chinese filmmakers seem to have noticed this problem. Recent crime thrillers begin to set themselves in fictional Southeast Asian countries, with the villains being Chinese. No More Beds, for example, is set in the fictional country of Ghana. It sees a programmer being trafficked by a Chinese syndicate into a slave camp and is forced to run a scam operation. It's actually a really good movie, but it also half-assed its attempt to not be racist, as the film prominently displays Burmese text as well as Khmer and Thai. The lack of specificity turns the movie into a giant AOE attack, drawing criticism from Cambodia, Myanmar, and Thailand. Hilarious. Later re-release of the film digitally changed all non-Chinese text into a fictional script, which is at least a step in the right direction. That's not to say every Chinese movie is a xenophobic diss towards Thailand. Lost in Thailand, for example, it's pretty endearing. In this 2012 road trip movie, a businessman travels through Thailand with a tourist, chasing after an important contract. They take a train, visit the Donald Duck Temple, and find themselves in the water festival. Thailand offers so much beauty to them, but the businessman is too busy chasing money to see it. Indeed, the businessman is the butt of the joke. The most telling is perhaps the ladyboy joke.
我跟你说，你在泰国看到所有美女都是人妖。
Instead of doing the cliché shocking reveal, the film makes fun of the doofus for stereotyping.
我电梯里呢，电梯里有俩二逼。
Later, when two ladyboys do show up, their gender is not played for laughs at all, and really, neither is their occupations as sex workers. The film is surprisingly respectful. This brings us back to Detective Chinatown, a series I've gained so much newfound respect for thanks to our recent videos. In this first installment of the series, an amateur detective must navigate the Bangkok Chinatown to solve a murder mystery. Like other films in this series, its setting is presented with a sense of beauty. There is nostalgia in every shot, as if every street is filled with life and story. And yeah, because it's someone else's home. China is often quick to react when a foreign movie depicts it poorly. It seems like a fragile ego, but how can you not when there is a century of yellow peril propaganda against us, turning our home into punchlines? But now that China has international influence, now that Chinese cinema is making blockbusters, it's time to learn the lesson from the other side, to start depicting others as we wish to be depicted. We are buying into Orientalism, we are depicting others like others used to do to us. It's better we notice it now than too late. Everywhere we point our camera is a place someone calls home. We are but a visiting guest and should bring our respect along with us. There's a whole world out there. Let's get to know the people and not just our imagination of them.